Hello everyone. I wanted to make a short video about tax documents from Uber Eats. It can be really confusing. I have another video where I explain all changes for 2025, like about deductions and credits. This video is just about tax documents. First of all, I have three. I have Spark, I have Doordash, and I have Uber Eats. First two are pretty straightforward. So by now you probably all got your tax documents already. It's February 2nd. So I just want to summarize what I got. Spark, they sent me 1099 and EC with just one number, what they paid me. Somehow they didn't specify what was the amount of tip. So I had to go into weekly earnings and actually calculate myself, just because I couldn't find anywhere. I didn't get any email from them to say that was the amount of tip out of that amount that they paid me. So that's Spark. And also they don't send us miles, but I mentioned that in other videos as well. I recommend writing down miles if you do Spark. So now DoorDash. DoorDash, again, they send us 1099 NEC, but and it's also only one amount what they paid us. But on January 31st they sent us email where they said how many miles we drove and what was the amount of tip out of that amount that they paid us. Only Uber is more complicated than it should be, really. So it always was like that in terms of like documents. So if you go into app, you can see annual summary. You can click on that. First you go to your menu and then tax documents, and then you can see annual summary over there. You can by the year, so 2025. Also there are another entry tax forms over there. You can see 1099 NEC, 1099K. The problem is you might get annual summary. You always have, you might get either one of those 1099 NEC or K, or both or none. And that can be really confusing. I usually, when I do my taxes, I just use annual summary, because with 1099 NEC from Spark and DoorDash, they do have the amount they paid us. Here, it's not like that. Here, it's just a small amount. For me, it was like $400 this year. The rest of the amount should be in this form, but I didn't get any of those. But my friend got just an EC, and she was confused. For her, it was $800, and she was like, "I made more than $800 with Uber." That's the thing. For Uber, 1099 NEC has amount, let's say X. 1099K has amount Y, and annual summary would have the sum of those amounts. But you see, okay, if you didn't get like any of those forms, that's fine. You just use annual summary. But as my friend, why my friend got confused, because she got 1099 NEC, but she didn't get this one. She wasn't eligible. So one thing to do, you can still, when you go into those tax forms, and if it says that you didn't make enough to be eligible, you still can click and ask to download. So it did work in my app. I was able to download and just see what was the amount, for both of them. But again, I use this one for my taxes. That's why. But if you take your taxes elsewhere to your tax preparer, just make sure if you got 1099 NEC, it's not enough. Like with Spark or DoorDash, you also have to bring annual summary to your tax preparer. So, and hopefully that person will figure out why it's this way. For example, if you don't get 1099K, you would need that, because again, for me it was 400 here, 11,000 over here. So this annual summary was 11,400. So that about the form. Another thing, if you do taxes yourself, and when you start entering, I do Free Tax USA, it can be confusing how to enter, because again, you do, like I do 1099 NEC for Spark and DoorDash first, And this year they have additional, as soon as you put amount that you made, you will have additional space to like a question. They would ask how much out of that amount, how much was your tip. So you can enter over there. Of course, you can enter also if you, let's say you got like that, annual summary and 1099 NEC. You can enter 1099 NEC also. But since this amount is very small, and then you will get a question like how much was the tip, but you cannot put more than 400 obviously, because it's the question is how much out of that 400 is your tip. So I wouldn't enter that, because for example, out of this total 11,400, my tip was 5,000, and I wouldn't be able to put it over here. So I didn't enter. I suggest not to enter 1099 NEC for Uber. Go to the next step, Schedule C. When you go there, you will see your Spark and Doordash already there. So you just have to enter Uber, and you can get your numbers from here. The only thing, there is no additional line for tip. So, but there is a question. Did you get 1099K? Say yes. And then you'll see in different, like additional question, how much was the tip? The tip, the amount of the tip would be over here in this annual form, second page. So even if you didn't get 1099K, you entering Uber through Schedule C, still say yes that you did get 1099K, because otherwise you will not be able to enter the amount of tip, and you need them for deductions. So that's about the forms and how to enter into the tax program. If you have questions, please ask in the comments, because I know it's really confusing, because it's not that's not the end for Uber. Annual tax summary, this one, the one that contains the full number, is also confusing by itself. Not that much, so, but still, you like Doordash and Spark would give us just this amount net pay, the one whatever they paid us. When you see annual tax summary for Uber, there would be three numbers: gross amount minus fees, adjustments, whatever the full amount of this, and then net pay. So I don't know why it's sort of like how much Uber made and then how much they charge us, like the fees they charge us and what they paid us. I don't know why they do that this way. Can be confusing, but don't worry about that, because when you go into program, let's say Free Tax USA, into Schedule C to enter your Uber information, you will see those lines. It's not just one line for net pay. So you will see other lines, so you can actually enter all these numbers, even though we don't need them, but there is space for them in the program. So you will enter gross amount first, and then there's second line says fees, adjustments, something else. You will enter this amount. That's it. And the system subtract them and will come up with net pay. So basically that's what you do for Uber. Do not, like summary, do not enter. Even if you did get 1099 NEC, do not enter that with other 1099 NEC. Go to Schedule C, enter gross amount minus fees, the second line, and then there would be a question: did you get 1099K? Click yes, and then you can see the amount of tip in annual summary, second page. That's about, I think that's it. Other than that, and then you will go to business expenses. That's where you enter miles and all that stuff. I just wanted to explain this Uber forms because my friend got confused today, because again, she got only 1099 NEC with a small amount, and she couldn't figure out what to do with that. So that's why I really wanted to make this video. Hopefully it's easy to understand. If you have questions, please write them in the comments. Thank you. Bye.